We kept the conversation going for a while longer, but gradually the cheerful expressions faded from both my husband and my mother-in-law's faces. "Hadley, are you feeling okay?" my husband asked, his voice tense and impatient. "What?" I responded, confused. "Never mind," he muttered, looking just as bewildered. Something was definitely up. Then, out of nowhere, my mother-in-law clutched her stomach and stood up abruptly. "Ouch!" "Oh," she groaned. She rushed toward the bathroom, her face twisted in pain. "Mom, what's wrong?" My husband shouted, his voice tinged with panic. "It hurts, my stomach. This can't be happening," she gasped, doubling over. My husband's expression turned to shock. "Hadley, you didn't switch the tea, did you?" he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. I met his gaze with a calm, unwavering stare. "I did," I said coldly. I swapped mine with hers. His face drained of color. "What? Why would you do that?" I shrugged, completely unbothered. "And what's so wrong with that?" I asked simply. "My name is Hadley. I'm 30 years old and work in an office. I've been married to my husband Beau for 2 years now. We met through work. He had been hired mid-career from a client company I was working with at the time. At first he struggled to adjust to the job, but the next time I saw him, he had improved significantly. I admired his quick learning. Eventually we grew closer, started going out for dinners, and soon after, he confessed his feelings. We began dating and things progressed smoothly. He proposed and we got married. Our newlywed life seemed perfect. Beau wasn't much of a cook, so I handled the meals while he took care of cleaning and laundry. He even made sure to take out the trash without being asked, which I appreciated. But lately, something had changed. His behavior toward me had shifted. He used to dote on me, always eager for my attention, following me around like an affectionate puppy. I often had to remind him to be patient. But now, he barely acknowledged me. His once warm and sweet voice had turned distant and indifferent. "What's for dinner?" he asked one evening, his tone flat. "Hamburgers. Your favorite," I replied. "Okay," he muttered without even looking up. That was it. No excitement, no gratitude. I had gone out of my way to make something he loved, yet his reaction was colder than ever. Where had the affectionate man I married gone? Would he ever come back? And it wasn't just Beau. My mother-in-law had been a thorn in my side since day one. She never missed an opportunity to belittle me. "Hadley," she snapped one afternoon, "why didn't you prepare any snacks?" I sighed. "You dropped by unexpectedly. You should have anticipated it," she scolded, glaring at me. "That's ridiculous," I muttered under my breath. In the past, Beau would have defended me, even pushed back against his mother's criticisms, but now he was siding with her. "I really don't think Hadley is very considerate, do you?" she prodded. Beau shrugged. "A wife should always be prepared when my mother visits," he said, his tone dripping with superiority. "You never know, I might just decide to leave you if you keep this up." A threat. I stared at him stunned. He had never spoken to me like that before. My heart ached. I wanted to believe he was still the man I fell in love with. But then something happened that shattered any lingering hope. One weekend, my mother-in-law arrived with an unusually bright smile. She brought tea and expensive-looking sweets, her cheerfulness unsettling. "I went out of my way to buy the finest tea," she said sweetly. "Let's enjoy it together." Her sudden kindness set off alarm bells. Something wasn't right. "I'll make the tea," Beau said with an odd smirk, taking the package to the kitchen. Lately he'd been treating me more like a servant than a wife. "Hurry up and set the table," he ordered. "Mother is waiting." His sharp tone made me uneasy. When he returned, he handed me a cup, watching me intently. "Wow, it smells amazing," my mother-in-law said, inhaling deeply. I hesitated and sniffed the tea. It seemed normal, except for the bubbles. Strange, floating bubbles. This isn't right. I needed to act fast. "Oh, mother-in-law," I exclaimed suddenly, "your favorite singer was on TV the other night. I recorded it for you." Her eyes lit up. "Really? I must see it." She reached for the remote eagerly, momentarily distracted. "Where are the snacks?" she added sharply. "I'll get them," Beau muttered, standing up to fetch plates. That was my chance. The moment they looked away, I swapped my cup with my mother-in-law's. When they returned, we all sat down again. "Let's enjoy the tea," Bo said with a sly grin. It's truly exquisite. My mother-in-law agreed, taking a sip with a smug smile. I took a sip as well, pretending to savor it. It does taste different, I commented casually. They exchanged knowing chuckles. I know, right? Bo smirked. It's delicious, I played along, finishing my cup. They laughed, pleased with themselves. But their smiles didn't last long. My mother-in-law suddenly clutched her stomach. Ouch. Oh, she groaned, her face contorting in pain. Mom, what's wrong? Bo asked, alarmed. My stomach, it hurts so much, she gasped. Bo's face turned pale. Hadley, you didn't switch the tea, did you? He asked, his voice shaking. I met his gaze calmly. I did, I answered firmly. His eyes widened in horror. Why would you do that? He demanded. I tilted my head. And what's so wrong with that? His panic deepened. You mean there was something in the tea? I pressed. Bo's mouth opened, but no words came out. Tell me the truth, Bo, I said, my voice steely. He swallowed hard. Or else, your mother might not recover, I added. His expression crumbled. I put a lot of powdered laxative in your tea, he finally admitted. I froze. What? I hissed. That much could be dangerous. I didn't think, he stammered. Call an ambulance, I ordered, my heart pounding. Oh, okay, he said, fumbling for his phone. Minutes later, my mother-in-law was being rushed away in an ambulance, Bo trailing behind in a frenzy of guilt and fear. Meanwhile, I quietly poured the laced tea into a bottle and sealed it. Evidence. Because this wasn't over yet. I was headed straight to the police to file a report. While my husband and his mother were at the hospital, I packed up my belongings and called my parents. That same day, I left for good. As soon as I arrived at my parents' house, my phone rang. It was my husband. My mom isn't doing well. She's in bad shape and needs to stay in the hospital for a few days. Bring her a change of clothes and... I cut him off immediately. What are you even talking about? I snapped. I want nothing to do with you. His voice rose in frustration. You can't just walk away. My mom's in trouble and you're my wife. The least you can do is help. I stayed firm. Not anymore. I'm divorcing you. There was silence on the other end. Then, after a long pause, he finally spoke. I see, he said coldly. If you're the one asking for the divorce, then don't expect a penny. You won't get a share of the property. My blood boiled. Excuse me. You heard me, he sneered. You're the one ending the marriage, so I'll take whatever I can get. That's ridiculous. I'm not paying you a dime, I shot back. You're the one walking away, he insisted. I clenched my fists, disgusted. You poisoned my tea, Bo. You and your mother both. And you really think you're not at fault? Before I could mention the evidence I had against him, he hung up. I took a deep breath. There were more important things to do, like contacting my lawyer. A few days later, I got another message from him. Where's all your stuff? The house is a mess because you're not here to clean it up, he complained. Message after message poured in, full of selfish, unreasonable demands. So you're really divorcing me, huh? Do you even realize how hard life will be without me? He taunted. I ignored him. I had nothing more to say. Then my mother-in-law was discharged from the hospital. Not long after, my husband showed up at my parents' house, this time with both his parents in tow. He was in a foul mood. I don't agree to this divorce, he said arrogantly. But fine, I'll comply. You didn't even visit my mother while she was hospitalized. You packed up and ran away. What kind of wife does that? His mother glared at me, clearly expecting my father-in-law to take their side. Hadley, don't you think you're being selfish? My father-in-law asked, though I could tell he didn't have the full story. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. My husband's voice came through loud and clear. I dumped a ton of laxatives into Hadley's tea. My husband and mother-in-law went pale. My father-in-law's expression darkened. What am I listening to? I took a steady breath. I knew something was wrong, so I switched the cups. I felt threatened. Bo used to defend me when his mother treated me badly, but lately they've been teaming up against me. And then, he did this. My father-in-law's gaze hardened. He turned to my husband. Bo, is this true? Were you bullying her too? My husband stammered, no, wait, Dad, it was just a prank. Hadley got an upset stomach, sure, but I didn't mean any harm, it was just for fun. You call that fun? My father-in-law's voice was ice cold. I crossed my arms. I don't care how you tried to spin it. Actions have consequences. Then, I pulled out an envelope and tossed it onto the table. Inside this is photographic evidence of your affair, I said coolly. I hired a detective. My husband's face strained of color. Do what? How did you? You think I didn't notice the way you changed? You were probably just trying to make me file for divorce first, weren't you? I sneered. Sweat beaded on his forehead. I pulled out the divorce papers and slid them toward him. You're at a disadvantage now, and you know it. I'll get my fair share of the property and alimony. My husband opened his mouth to protest, but I didn't give him the chance. Oh, and just so you know, I added, I'll also be reporting you for assault for spiking my drink. His mother gasped. Wait, you wouldn't. Don't you feel bad for Beau? I scoffed. Why should I? He and you are both guilty. You were in on this together. Eh? This was all Beau's idea, she blurted, trying to shift the blame. I had nothing to do with it. Mom, don't lie, my husband snapped. This was your plan. You were already looking for a new wife for me. They turned on each other, shouting and pointing fingers. Then my father-in-law slammed his hand on the table. Enough, his voice echoed through the room. You both committed a crime. Own up to it, and Beau, you had an affair? You're going to compensate Hadley properly. My husband and mother-in-law froze, terrified. My own father looked ready to explode, but thankfully my father-in-law had taken charge. We'll let the lawyers handle the rest, I said calmly. I pushed the papers toward Beau again. Sign them. He hesitated, but my father-in-law's sharp glare made him cave. With shaking hands he signed. My deepest apologies for the trouble my son and wife have caused, my father-in-law said sincerely. Then he dragged them both out of my parents' house. I followed through with my lawsuit and was awarded alimony, $30,000 each from both my ex-husband and his mistress. I also reported my ex-husband and mother-in-law for the laxative incident. With the audio evidence and the tainted tea, they were arrested and fined. My father-in-law, utterly disgusted by his wife's actions, divorced her. With nowhere to turn, she was forced to take on part-time jobs just to survive. My ex-husband's mistress, furious that he had lied to her, dumped him as well. Buried in debt and alone, he had no one left. I got my rightful share of the property and moved into my own apartment. Recently, I received a promotion at work. To celebrate, I'm thinking of taking a trip with my friends or family. Let this be a lesson. Poisoning someone's drink isn't a prank, it's a crime. My ex-husband and mother-in-law got exactly what they deserved. At least my father-in-law turned out to be a decent man, and as for me, I know I'll find someone truly worthy of my love one day. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, stay tuned.